Hi Doug, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure, thank you.
You've just announced a partnership with the UK Trade and Investment. Could you mention or talk about some of the opportunities you're expecting within the Southeast Asian markets?
Sure. So this is all about export opportunities for British firms. And as we look at Southeast Asia, it's a global arrangement, but obviously our focus is very much at the moment on China in particular, and also India and the other opportunities. And what we see there is a big opportunity for British firms. You know, there is enormous desire amongst China customers for genuine, authentic international brands. We see a particular desire for British brands. You know, already even today, prior to this announcement, you know, through Amazon platforms, British firms export well over £1 billion a year, and the number of British firms exporting from Amazon UK platforms is growing at over 90% a year. So it's a big trend, it's growing fast. I think the challenge is it's hard. You know, I speak to a lot of British businesses and they say, I'd love to be in China, but I don't know how. I don't speak the language, I don't understand the regulation, I don't understand the taxation or the duty or all of these things, or I'm worried about counterfeits. It's very, very hard. And so we've been working at Amazon hard over the last few years to really develop tools and services and platforms that effectively mean it will be as easy for a British firm working with us in the UK to sell into China as it is just to sell to us here domestically. And this partnership with UKTI is really all about awareness and education. So we've worked on the platforms. You know, I think UKTI's job, if you like, is to help British firms understand the opportunity. I think together with UKTI we can hopefully actually get a lot more British firms interested and exporting.
And you mentioned the tools you're utilising to sort of help that groundwork for British firms in China. Could you just go into detail about how you set that up?
Sure, so I'll give you a simple example. We launched a tool, if you like, call it that, which we call the Global Store. We launched this about 10 months ago in last November. And initially we launched this as US into China. Obviously we're now moving to look at this around the world. And what we effectively do is we will take a business that's working with us in the US, and we'll take those products, we will translate them into Chinese, we'll provide local payments, we'll provide local customer services, we'll deal with all the taxation and the duties and the customs clearance, and we'll provide global shipping. So for a customer of China, they can effectively import directly from the US at the same price, the guaranteed authentic brand, and we handle everything else on what is the fastest click-to-deliver service that anybody in China can offer by far. And that tool has enabled us, as I say, we launched it last November with about 20,000 products. As of today, which is 10 months later, this is already now providing well over 3 million unique products to customers in China.
Sure. And with the cultural barriers and language barriers that face SMEs in Britain, what sort of advice have you been given in the educational pitches you've been doing?
I think it's very straightforward. I mean, what we say to them is, look, give it a go. You know, we've got to go all the way out to China to actually launch a business there is hard. You know, there are taxation, regulation, you know, legal, language issues. What we're saying to them is, look, we'll make it so easy to get started that is literally it's free, and it's no more complicated than if you're already working with us here in the UK. It will literally become tick a box, and we can launch you in China.
Very easy then.
That's pretty easy.
And in such a competitive market, how do you yourselves stay competitive and stay on trend?
So I think China's a great market to operate in, because what we've always said, and this is true anywhere in the world, is we love competition. You know, competition ultimately makes things better for customers, so why wouldn't you love it?
Sure.
However, if you think of somewhere like China, China has some great businesses. I mean, the Alibaba platforms, Taobao, Tmall, Jingdong, Dandang, there are some Yehudi, and there are very, very good platforms out there. So really to be successful in China, we have to focus on, if you like, fulfilling an unmet customer need. And that unmet customer need, we believe, is all about cross-border e-commerce. So for a China customer, it's helping them find those British and other international products they can't otherwise get. And for a China business, it's typically about helping them to sell around the world.
Sure. And within the e-commerce market in China, has it been interesting to run a Chinese arm of a multinational company as a British man?
I think, look, you know what? China is definitely interesting. I'll give you that. Yeah, look, sure. I mean, it's. I mean, if you wanted me to give a very crude characterization, I mean, if you imagine, I mean, we love working with Americans. They're very direct. They tell it exactly like it is. They tend to think of British as being a little bit, what's the word, perfidious. We never quite say what we mean. How do I understand you? And I say to them, well, if the Americans are here and the British are here, imagine the Chinese here. So in some ways, Actually, if you're British, it's a little bit easier. And to some extent, my job is just a translator, to translate, to connect Chinese with Americans. If we do that right, in any global organization, what you really want to do is to take the very best global capabilities, global platforms, global tools, but actually align them with a degree of really, really deep local customer understanding.
And one of the major things from MNC is to acquire talent and the right talent for the company. And as a foreign company in China, has that been difficult, or how have you gone about acquiring the best people for your network?
I mean, look, talent is a challenge everywhere in the world. And, the very best people have, as we know, many, many opportunities. And I think as any employer trying to get the very best talent, what you have to do is make sure that you're offering what people want. And typically, as we like to say, we're here to work hard, yes, have fun, make history. And actually, where we can find people who really want to make a difference, who want to work on the coolest, most innovative technologies, who want to do something which is genuinely game-changing, and actually have the right kind of positive attitude to come at it. Where we can find those people, we'll find they'll tend to fit the culture, they'll tend to enjoy it, and we can do a pretty good job. Clearly, if you like, in China specifically, it's e-commerce. Why wouldn't you want to join it? There are many, many options. We're probably, if you like, for us, the choices between join a big domestic player and join a multinational player. As an MNC, you do have certain advantages. We can offer maybe more opportunity to our Chinese employers in particular to be part of a genuine global business. And for the right kind of people, that can be highly attractive.
Sure. And what are the mega trends within the e-commerce market that you're starting to see? Because obviously China's interesting again. Anything that you've started to notice that could translate to the rest of the world?
Look, I think there's a number of things you see. I mean, China's a super interesting market because it's if you like, physical retail is less developed than in the rest of the world, and the technology is incredibly good. So you see a number of, if you like, sort of leapfrog characteristics. I'll give you two very simple examples. If I talk to a group of, let's say, Chinese, 25 to 30-year-old Chinese women, and you ask them a very simple question, which is, when did you last go to a shop? Then honestly, they look at you like you're a bit stupid, and they go, why would I go to a shop? There is very little developed physical retail. The traffic is horrendous. You're talking about cities of 10, 20, 30 million people. It's quite hard to get around. So apart from fresh food, they do all of their shopping online. And therefore, their product discovery and how do I make sure I'm finding the right products and buying the right products is, as opposed to, say, in the West or in the UK or in the US, where you might do a little bit of physical store, a little bit of online, it's all online. So that changes a lot about the experience. Obviously, the product details have to be much, much higher standard. Clearly, they want information from the manufacturer or from the retailer, but actually social shopping is a much bigger phenomenon in China and in Asia generally than you've seen in the West. And you'll see a high proportion of traffic comes from sites, WeChat, Weibo, all of these things. People are just sharing product advice. What do I like? What do my friends like? Reviews matter, but obviously what my friends think matters even more. So actually that's a big phenomenon. And then the other thing you see is, what I love seeing is a really interesting combination of, if you like, quite scruffy, very entrepreneurial sort of developed market stuff with, very great technology. So, it's the only place in the world I've actually seen fully GPS-enabled bicycle rickshaws delivering products. It's quite fun.
And on the back of those trends and the use of tech in China, is China a bellwether for the e-commerce market globally?
Look, I think you can learn things from every environment. Because in every market, typically, people face different challenges and they solve different challenges. So I think there are interesting things to be learned from China. I think you can absolutely see a number of areas in which technology is leapfrogging. So we've touched a little bit about physical retail, but mobile payments is another example. Mobile payment technology in China is way ahead of anything you'll ever see in the West, and it's really impressive. Peer-to-peer payments, all this sort of stuff. You can go to the scruffiest looking, fruit seller on the street and it'll take cash and WeChat mobile payment. Wow. It's amazing. Equally, I think actually one of the big trends we're seeing coming out of China, which I believe is a bellwether for the rest of the world, is this whole cross-border. E-commerce has historically, for a business that's only been around, a couple of decades, has tended to be quite a national game. And actually that is clearly changing and changing quite fast. And when you look at the speed at which it's changing through a combination of government regulation, technological development, physical logistics capabilities, actually that e-commerce becoming a genuinely global business is, I think, a mega trend we'll see a lot more of. And then the other one I'd sort of, an obvious thing you call out is that, obviously mobile is big everywhere, but actually the speed of mobile development in China is, again, something that I would say far outstrips what we've seen in many countries in the West, and is going down a slightly interesting route. That's I would suggest to anybody is it's worth investing a bit of time just understanding what's going on out there.
And finally, with that global e-commerce outlook and with the partnership with UKTI, what are you expecting or hoping for in the next 5 years?
Look, I think what we expect in the next 5 years and what we hope is two very simple things. We want our customers in China and in the rest of the world, to be able to get much greater, easier and faster access to products they want, not just domestically but globally. I think that's a huge trend. And secondly, we hope and expect that many, many businesses, British businesses, other businesses, will become much more successful in exporting around the world.
Brilliant. Doug, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, thank you.